Here's an attempt at a story time for how I found my kidnapped daughter. It is a long story, so it will probably be more than one part. And I hate people that do the part 15, but if you all really want it, that's what I gotta do, okay? So, here's what happened. And I'm gonna talk really fast and really animated to get it in there. So, we're chilling. It's a Friday night. We've just ordered Shomars. I got salmon. We're about to watch Life by Ryan Reynolds. You know the movie where he goes up into space? Actually, pretty good movie. Anyway, so we get a message on Facebook out of nowhere that's like, hey, I think I found your daughter. My daughter had been missing for 399 days at this point, and we had zero, nary a motherfucking clue. So we were like, what? So I was like, hey, what do you think? Why do you think that? So she came back and said, I'm talking to her. I'm in a chat room with her. I'm pretty sure it's her. And I said, well, we need some convincing. Because the FBI, I'll tell you, like, when your kid's missing, they be like, be careful. Psychics be calling you. People be calling you. Be like, I know where your kid is. You send me $500 and I'll tell you. So I was a little more cautious than my husband. My husband was immediately like, oh my God, it's her. I was like, I need more than that, bitches. So at this point, we know that whoever it is on the other end has contact with Haley. It may not actually be her, but they at least have contact with her to have had a recent photo. Now, at this point, my husband is 100% convinced. He's like, we need to call our FBI agent, Pete. I was like, wait, I need more. Because they had warned us that people will call and trick you and kidnappers and psychic people will try to get money out of you. So I said, please ask Haley something that only Haley would know. Now, I want to say, she's talking to me, she's typing to Haley, so Haley has to type back, then she has to answer, then she tells me, then I tell Tony, then Tony tells Pete, our FBI agent, then Pete tells the detectives in Georgia, then the detectives in Georgia tell the police. So everything takes a really long time, okay? So at this point, she comes back and says, Haley said to tell you that you hate your mom and that you have a big divot in the back of your head from when your brother hit you in the head with a hammer when you were 5 and you almost died. And yeah, that's true. And very few people knew it. Now you know it, but very few people knew that. So at that point, we knew that it was her. At that point, we know it's Haley, and we just have to try to figure out where she is. So I say, where are you? And she says, I'm in a 2-story brown brick building in Georgia. Which, while I'm having this conversation, Tony, my husband, is on the phone, getting on the phone with our FBI agent. And side note, our FBI agent, Pete, was amazing. He was on vacation with his family in a resort at Disney when we called, and he dropped everything to help us that night. And had he not, like, had I called the Georgia detectives, they would not have taken me as seriously. They would not have motivated as quickly, let's put it that way. So they come back. So she says, I'm in a 2-story brick building, and I say, well, that's not enough, sweetie. I need to know more. And this is where the Columbo comes in. So the questions became rapid fire. Do you have trains near you? Do you have planes near you? Is there running water? Is there a local pizza place? So I can show you the picture at the end. So at this point, we know it's her. We know where she's at. We know she's in Georgia. So we start asking questions like, are there planes? Are there trains? Is there water? Is there a local pizza place? Do you ever hear like police sirens or like an ice cream truck? And she said, no, none of that. And so I said, what do you see when you look out your window? And she said, well, it's dark. I can't see anything. Duh, it was nighttime. But she said, I did take a picture a few months ago from the window. Do you want me to send you that? And I said, yes, send me that. So she sent me this picture. Insert picture now. When I got that picture, I looked at that picture for every possible clue I could find, and the only thing that I could tiny little sign in front of the white truck that's really hard to see, but I swear to God it's there, and if it's the only thing you have to find your kid, you would find it too, and I swear it's there, I swear! Pissing me off in the comments. If she had a phone, why didn't she just call 911? If she had a computer, why didn't she just call 911? Why didn't she call you? First of all, who said she had a phone? I never said she had a phone. She didn't have a phone. What she had was a Kindle from 2010 that she found in an old box that her captor had forgotten about. She was able to hijack the neighbor's Wi-Fi and ended up in a chat room in Romania, if that gives you any idea about the Wi-Fi. And why didn't she contact us? Because he threatened to kill her if she did. So, at this point in the story, we have just now gotten the image from her. And I want to be very clear, it was an image taken on a Kindle, okay? It wasn't the greatest. It didn't have, like, high megapixels like your iPhone 10. The zoom in on the sign picture that I show you, that's as much as you can zoom in on that photo without it just distorting. There was no looking at license plates on the front of the truck. There was none of that. And so, and the thing is, her Kindle only had like 26% charge. So we had to work quickly, but because we were talking through all these people, it took a long time. So when I looked at the picture, I saw a tiny little white sign. The first thing I saw was a lack of tire on the blue truck. That's where my brain was like, there's something in front of that tire. And it was a little white sign. Okay, so now we have the photo. It's like 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. Our FBI agent is in Florida. It's not like in the movies where I just call up Reed from Criminal Minds and say, hey, I'm going to text you this photo and you can send it to Quantico and 16 seconds later. This is real life. My daughter had 26% on that Kindle, and once that was dead, that was it. So we did not have time to piddle fart around. I knew that we had to solve this. We had to use that picture to find her, and this was our only hope. So I looked at that picture, and the first thing I saw was the end of a street sign in the top left corner, ENCA. You can see the end of a street sign, a little bit green. And then in the other end of the photo, at the very end of the hill, there's a blue truck and a white truck, and I could see a little white sign at the end of that white truck. It's very difficult to see. I've circled it to show you it's there. But in my brain, and I kind of think this was a little bit of angels, I just knew that that was a for sale sign. So at this point, we have the photo. We have located the house that we think is 5 doors down. So we send that photo to our FBI agent, who then contacts detectives in Georgia. And the detectives in Georgia were like, we can't dispatch to a 2-story brick building. That's not enough. But with an address, they could. So now, in the point, our FBI agent has sent the photo to the Georgia detectives because up until now, Georgia is like, we cannot dispatch police officers to a 2-story brick building in Georgia. We need more. And up until this point, we didn't have an address. So once we had an address, they were then able to dispatch police. And the police were dispatched to that address. But there were no streetlights. It's rural Georgia at night, like late night. It's like 11:45 midnight at this point. It's late night. It's dark. Not everybody has their porch lights on. So the police say to Pete, who says to Tony, who says to me, who says to Kat, who says to Haley, you need to signal them. You need to let them know that you are there. They can't find where you are. So her window opened about this much. He had nailed it shut, but he did open it this much because occasionally he smoked cigarettes. And so she was able to open up the window. Okay, so at this point, Haley has said, I've seen the police driving by. They're not stopping. What do I do? We go back and say, you need to make some noise. You need to let them know you're there. You need to make some noise. She says, I'm too scared. I'm too scared. What if he hears me? I'm too scared. I say, baby, you need to make some noise. You need to make some noise. So we watch Doctor Who. Haley and I, we love Doctor Who. One of our favorite characters is Donna Noble. She's played by an actress named Catherine Tate. And one of Donna's things is she goes, oi, O-Y. It's a British thing. It basically is just like, hey. But over there, instead of going, hey, they go, oi. So if we're at Target and Haley's, I can't find her, I go, oi, really loud. And she goes, oi. So that's what she did. She opened up the window and she waited for the police to drive by. And when she saw them, she went, oi, really loud. And then she fainted. Okay, so one more aspect of this that I have not told you. I've only told you my part while I'm in Columbo mode over here trying to figure out where she is with the picture, which didn't, like I said, it wasn't Criminal Minds, okay? It didn't take 16 seconds. It took a hot minute. And I did use every bit of Columbo, Nancy Grace, Bill Curtis, Forensics Files, friggin' Candace DeLong. Every bit of crime show that I had was running so fast in my brain to figure out where she was. And while I was doing that, my husband was on the phone with Pete, our FBI agent, who was on the phone with detectives who were on the phone with police, asking questions like, are there weapons? How many rooms? How many floors? How many people? And it was to make sure that everyone was safe, including my daughter, but them as well. And I just want to take a moment to say, I have so much love, adoration, and respect for the Georgia police. Not necessarily the judicial system, because let's just be honest, but the police. So at this point, they've all gotten their ducks in a row. They've located Haley. They've seen Haley in the second-story window. They know that she's there. So at that point, FBI agent Pete says, we found her. You're going to be in the dark for a while. And he hangs up the phone. So I got the first message at 8:49. And then at 12:47, Pete calls us back and says, we found her. She's safe. Get to Atlanta. To which I say, Atlanta's kind of big, Pete. Where? And he says, just get to Atlanta. We'll tell you where when you get closer. So we hop on the highway. We literally are in the car by 12:51. Got the message at 12:47. By 12:51, we are on the road. My mother-in-law lives with us. She stayed here with our kids. We just left. We jump in the car, 12:51. We're on the road to Atlanta. We get to Atlanta by 3:20. So we sped the whole way. We did 80 the whole way. I didn't give a shit. I was like, let some fucking cop pull me over and I'll be like, Trump your ass with the FBI waiting on us in Atlanta. I ain't even worried. I was like, if we get pulled over, they'll just give us an escort and it'll get us there faster. But bitches, me and get pulled over. It was like fucking 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was out there. At one point, I had to pee so bad, and I didn't want to pull over on a rest stop and like turn around. So we literally pulled over on the side of the road. I jumped out of the car, peed in the grass, jumped back in the car, and got right back on the road. Took less than a minute. I didn't want to waste any time to get to her. While we were driving, at the time, like I said, we don't know anything. But the second that I got to Haley and Haley saw me, she told us. So we're going to go a little bit back in the story. And I'm going to tell you what was happening on Haley's side after she fainted. So, like I said, Pete was like, you're going to be in the dark. You're not going to know anything. And we didn't. But Haley told us what happened on her end. So she fainted. And he heard her body hit the floor. He heard her. But he also, around the same time, there was a knock at the door. And it was the police. And so he answered the door, and the police were very smart in that they only sent 2 officers to the door, but there was like 8 cop cars, like hiding around the neighborhood. Like I said, it was dark, so they were able to do that. So the officer said, there's been a noise complaint. Are you alone here? So the officer says, there's been a noise complaint from this location. Are you here alone? To which he says, yeah, I'm here alone. Now the police knew that Haley was upstairs. At this point, they knew he was lying. So they said, are you sure? I mean, the complaint said that there was some loud noises, as in people. Are you sure you're the only one here? And he said, yeah, I'm the only one here. And they were like, well, do you mind? And at that point, when they kept pushing back and basically were like, we need to verify that you're the only one here. I don't think they said that, but that was definitely implied. At that point, he said, my girlfriend's upstairs sleeping. I can go get her. Do you want to talk to her? And they said, yeah, we need to see her. So he went, unlocked the gate, went to Haley and said, play the game. So by the game, this is what he meant. This man had had other victims before my daughter, about 7 of them. They're all very lovely women. I've met most of them. I hold a very, very big place in my heart for them because they're all almost exactly like my daughter. He very specifically targeted women with low self-esteem, possible mental illness, and or eating disorders because he says they're easier to control. So one of the women along the way had run away and had left a license. And this woman was 21, and they all looked exactly alike. So Haley looked enough like this person that they'd gotten pulled over twice by police, and she'd given that ID, and the cops believed that it was her. So by play the game, he meant go get that ID and pretend to be that person. At this point, he is not aware that Haley is the reason the police are there. He thinks that he's still in control. He thinks that she's going to play the game. So she walks up to the officer and hands the ID to the officer, and the officer says, all right, how do you spell your name? Now, Haley had carried this ID for over a year. She knew how to spell old girl's name. She knew old girl's birthday and her height and everything. If she got it wrong while they were in public, he would beat her. So she knew the information, but she misspelled the name on purpose. And then the officer was like, okay. What's your birthday? And she said, my birthday is 5500, which is Haley's actual birthday. At that point, they knew that they had Haley. They arrested him. They put him in a cop car and drove him downtown. As soon as he was in the car, she broke down, fell into the arms of the officer, was like, my name is Haley Burns. I'm a missing person. I miss my mom. I miss my dad. I want to go home. Please, I want to go home. I miss my mom and I miss my dad. At this point, he's arrested. Cops come in. They're like, sit down. Tell us what's been going on. She sits down, gives them a very brief synopsis of what's been going on, and then says, I want to get my stuff and get my cats. Haley acquired 2 cats while she was with him, Cinnamon and Bacon. And I'm not going to go into why. I'm not going to go into that. It might come out later, but it's not necessary right now. We're just very happy that we have Cinnamon and Bacon in our lives. They are the best fucking cats. But she wouldn't leave them. They were all trauma bonded together, and I knew better, and I was like, bring them. For those of you that want to know how he didn't go to jail, please pay close attention to this part. So Haley packed up her cats, Haley packed up a couple journals, and left. The detectives assured us, don't worry, we'll go through, we'll collect all the evidence, and anything that's left over will go to Haley. Somehow, he managed to, while in jail, give custody of his house to his brother. And his brother, whose wife just happens to be a cop in the same town? Gee, by the time the cops got there, all the evidence had been destroyed. It was all gone. Now let's just sit here for the rest of this video and ponder how all the evidence could have disappeared when the only people that had access to the house were his brother and his brother's wife, who was a cop. So how that could have happened, I still don't know. The state of Georgia doesn't have any answers for us when we question them about how that could possibly have happened, why it took them 5 days to serve a search warrant, why by the time they got there everything was gone, why they didn't question it. You know, you probably have the exact same questions that I do at this point, but guess how many answers I got for them? 0. We were basically just told, oh, we're sorry, we don't know how that happened, but not really a big deal. And here's the truth. We didn't want the shit. The shit was toxic. We would have fucking burned it. But the evidence... I would have gone to that fucking house myself and put that shit in my fucking car if I'd known that they were just gonna let his brother and his brother's wife, who's a cop, destroy it all. But if you were ever in my situation, which God, I pray that you're not, but if anyone that you know has ever been sexually assaulted, do not trust that the cops are going to keep that evidence safe. Don't do it. I would have taken her that night to that house and done that. I would have broken into that fucking house and risked getting arrested for a B&E. If you're in that situation, do that. Do not trust that they will do what they're telling you they'll do, because guess what? They don't always do it. And sometimes when they don't, the ramifications are great. I'd have gone to jail for 2 nights to get a B&E as long as I secured that evidence. I'd have been happy. I'd have spent 2 nights in jail. Proud to do it. But I didn't know. This is all information that we did not find out until later, but it took place at this time. If you go onto Google, you can find the original bond hearing where he sits in front of a judge and they name off all of the original charges that they charged him with. If you watch that video, when he comes in, he whispers something to his brother. That man that he's whispering to in that video, that's his brother. That woman sitting beside that man, that's his brother's wife, the cop. They stood behind him. They stood behind him in spite of every bit of evidence that they had destroyed. They knew. They still stood behind him. So if you watch that video, you see he whispers something in his brother's ear. You know what he's whispering? His password to all of his bank accounts. They moved in to that house. The brother and his wife, who's a cop, live in the house where that man did horrible, unspeakable things to my child. They live there now. Yup. So these are all not things that we did not know at the time, okay? These are all things that we've learned, mostly at the plea hearing, is when we discovered that it took them 5 days to search the search warrant. By the time they served the search warrant, all the evidence was gone. They didn't even find a computer in his home at all. And this is a man who is so prolific on Steam. He had 3 monitors set up. Dude, there were no computers found, and that wasn't in any way suspicious. There was nothing found in the room that she was in. All that shit was gone. That room was nothing. It was empty. And the police didn't question that, but it took them 5 days to serve the search warrant, so they gave them plenty of motherfucking time to destroy any evidence that they wanted to. So, But we didn't know any of that at the time. Like, at the time, all we knew was that our kid was safe and we were getting to her, and you could not have stopped me from getting to her. So at this point, we're driving on the interstate about 35 minutes outside of Atlanta. We get a call from Pete. He tells us exactly where to go, which is a rural police station in Gwinnett County. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like a very industrialized area. There were very few houses, and it was very dark. And when we get there, the police station, all the lights are off. Nobody's inside. It's all boarded, like locked up. And we were like, we're in the wrong place. Waze has taken us to the wrong police station. And right when we start to get back in our car thinking that we're in the wrong place, the security gate opens up and 2 officers come outside and they say, "Are you Shaunna and Tony?" And we're like, "Yes." "Do you have Haley?" And they're like, "Yes. But her appearance is very frightening. She's very skinny. She is malnourished. She's very weak. Please be very careful with her. Please don't yell at her," which we were never going to yell at her. We were not upset with her. But I can understand how some moms would go in there and be like, "You should not have run away. Look what you did." But we weren't going to do that. I'm going to try to shoot this without getting emotional, y'all, but it is incredibly hard. We walk into this police station, and if you've ever seen a briefing room, then you know what it looks like. It's a room with a table, like a long table, 16 chairs, a table, 3 tables in a row. And she was on the other end of the tables, and we came in the door. We were not even in the doorway. She heard my voice as I was talking to the other person. And I was like, "Oh, you don't have to worry. I'm not going to do that." She heard my voice and ran from the other end of the room over to me and ran into me right here. She put her head right here. She put her arms like this underneath me, and she held on to me so tight. She has never squeezed me that tight. And she said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And we were like, "Baby." People that are asking why she didn't just contact us, pay close attention to this part of the story. So she's holding me so tightly, tighter than she's ever held on to me, even as a baby. She never, held on to me as tight. I could barely breathe, y'all. And she's, "I'm so sorry, please don't be mad at me. I'm so sorry, please don't be mad at me. Please don't be mad at me." And we're sitting here going, "Baby, no, we're not mad at you. We never were. No one was ever upset with you." He had convinced her that we were mad at her, that we had filed runaway petitions for her, that if she ever contacted us, we would have her arrested and put in a psych ward until she turned 18. None of these things are true, of course, but he's a manipulative, narcissistic fucking ass. And to show you how scared and manipulated she was, even in a police station, she feared him. I'm going to try not to cry, but this part I always cry because I just have so much love and respect for officers of the law. I know there's some of them out there that are bad, and a lot of them just be shooting people in the streets without figuring out why, and I don't understand why rules of engagement does not apply, but none of that is relevant. As a general rule, I have mad love and respect for police officers. Y'all are fucking heroes. It's a dangerous goddamn job, and it's easy to be a fucking Monday morning quarterback when you're not out there risking your life for people you don't even fucking know. So I have a lot of respect for cops. So at this point, we're in the briefing room. We've calmed Haley down. We've explained to her that all of those things were a lie. None of those things are true. We're so happy to have you back. Don't even worry about all that shit. And slowly, on the back of the wall of the police station, police officers start coming in. Some in uniform, some in plainclothes, some are state troopers, some are highway patrol, some are police officers. They just so the police officers start trickling into the back of the police station, and some of them are highway patrol, some are police, some are plainclothes, and they are all crying. They are grown men in uniform with guns, and they are crying. And I am trying so hard to not cry because Haley really needed me to be strong. And I wanted to just break out, but I was trying so hard to be strong for her because I knew if I started crying, she was going to start crying again. And so at one point I looked to the officers and I'm like, "Are we keeping you from anything? I mean, I don't want to take you away from, cop life-saving business." And he said, "There is nowhere in the world that any of us want to be more than right here with you and your daughter right now." And I said, "I'm sure there's stuff you can do, like cop stuff." And they said, "We want the win. We really want the win." the reason why that breaks my heart is because we are so fucking lucky that we got our daughter back. Y'all don't know the statistics and how rare it is that they recover a child alive. That these cops traveled from all over the city of Atlanta to see a win, because so many times it's the other way and they have to go and tell that family that they found their kid dead. And it meant so much to these officers that they got to see a happy ending. There are many reasons why children that run away don't ever make it back home. But statistically, most of them don't. Whether it's something terrible that happens to them that stops them from ever making it home, or it's fear of their parents being angry, or abuse in the home that stops them from going home, or they've been gone for so long that they don't know what to do and they don't know how to call and reach out. I just want to say, if you are out there and you have run away or you have in any way put yourself in that situation, please, please, please reach out. Your family's not going to be mad. And if abuse is in the home, then tell the police and they'll get you into a safe place. But please, 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 it is so dangerous where you are. You are not safe, baby. Even if you think you are not safe. Please. So, I told you I wasn't going to be able to not cry. That part breaks my heart. I recognize that our family is so very, very, very lucky that we found our daughter. And I also recognize that there are millions of people out there who have lost someone and don't ever find them. And my heart legit breaks for those people. It still does. I still, to this day, if I do a media appearance, the only way that I'll do a media appearance, now I have been doing articles about my debt, because that has nothing to do with Haley. But if you want to do a story about my family, if you want me to be on your news station, the only way I will do that is if you run a story about a missing child in your area currently. Period. Because I know how hard it is to get your kid's name in the news. So after about an hour and a half, being in the briefing room with the police officers, all first, second, third responders, dispatch people showing up, like, it was insane. We were so there for it, though. We were like, come on in, the more the merrier, make room, scoot over. Like, we were hugging them all. It was amazing. The only way I can describe it is it was euphoric. It was like the best high that you could ever have. It was all natural, though. I mean, I wasn't doing drugs. It was just such relief to know that she was safe. It was such happiness to know that she's back with us. Like, everyone was happy. I don't know if I've ever been any happier in my entire life than I was in that room with all of those cops for an hour. And to be honest, like, growing up, I was always like, oh shit, it's the popo, you better run. No. I was hugging them. I was loving on them. All right, so that's it. That's the story of how we found our daughter. The next part is a whole other story. We went to the hospital. The hospital did not treat us the way that you would think that they would treat us. Like, you would think that it would have gone better than it did. We ended up having to stay at the hospital for 24 hours because the doctor was a dick. It's a long story. That's a whole other story. Then you've got oh, you can't tell anybody about this because we've got a trial coming, and if you talk to anybody about this and before the trial, you might mess up the trial. So we didn't talk to anybody, which is why a lot of the information that I'm telling you now, we didn't find out for a year because we didn't talk to anybody, like they said. And then ultimately it didn't matter because we didn't get a trial because the state of Georgia let them destroy all the evidence and let him walk away. But that's a story for another motherfucking day. This is a lot. I think that's enough of the story for now. But I do want to end on a positive note. So let's just say justice, or the lack of justice. Should this man have gone to jail? Probably. Did we have a trial and justice? No. No. He served 8 months probation. Because rich white men don't go to jail for this. I said that when all this happened. I said it to my husband. I said it to all of our friends. To which they all said, Shaunna, you're fucking crazy. They found her locked in a dog cage behind a gate, starved and beaten. How could he walk away from this? To which I said, just wait. Just wait. Growing up in foster care, saw it a million times. But guess who stalked him like a motherfucking hawk, violated his parole, and put him in jail for 2.5 years?